Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Wise Tips. Thank you so much for joining us here today. In today's Wise Tips, we're going to be, of course, as always, going over a few updates. As you've probably already noticed, Eduardo looks back in his home office, so we'll get an update from over there in just a second. And then we're also going to talk about an exciting new feature coming out to everyone a little bit later this week. This will be more for your customers and something that I think your customers are going to be pretty happy about, which is going to be called the cross-tab totals. It'll also be something for you all as well, but I think in particular, your customers will be really happy about this one.
I think so too.
So without further ado, Eduardo, you are back.
Yes. I love being the road, but it's good to have both worlds because you
Yes.
get tired of this, off you go, and
Yes.
then you get tired of that, back here I am. So it's good
go.
to have both worlds.
Yeah.
But managing and, excited about the new projects, excited about the new feature today that we're going to be talking about because it's an amazing way to provide information to customers. And if we did this right, it's going to save good chunk of hours on
Yes.
our clients and users compiling data for especially large accounts of
Yes.
their
Yes.
customers.
Most definitely. Because at the end of the day, we know, the more we can field phone calls while you're still giving your customers as much information as they could possibly want and that you want to share with them without causing you any additional work.
Yeah. And independence, right? To give them the
Yes.
independence to extract the data, compile the data, and see the data. So I honestly believe this is going to save a good chunk of hours on our users talking to large accounts, large customers,
Yes.
because this type of reports we're going to present today, it's hard to compile and apparently often requested by these large accounts.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. Well, I think without further ado, I guess let's take them a little tour.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I think we should start in the customer file. I know we just pulled up Wise options. So obviously this would be from our users standpoint. So this is something that both our users and then the
Let me
customers.
say that those who are not users, it's a good idea for them to come by.
Yes. Yes. There you go. As always. And like I said, this will be here, of course, what our users will see. And from this side that they'll be able to then go ahead and pull these reports themselves. So if you're talking on the phone with a customer, this may be a good thing to go in and review. But as always, it's going to start from the customer file and the customer account.
Okay. So here I am. What do you want me to do?
So let's click on the first one there in the list. They're a good option. I use them a lot as a test customer. So they got a lot of data.
Okay.
And then let's go into the customer account itself.
So to go into customer account, we just click on the account number up here.
So the common scenario, right? So the common scenario that led us up to this point is customer calls and a customer like this that spent quite a lot of money wants to know how that money has been spent. For example, most common one, right, is I've been spending money all season. It's halfway through the year. What have I spent on this horse, Sparkles? And I want to know the total that I've spent on this horse for this year so far. So that's one of the questions that these reports answers. There's others, but that's probably one of the most common ones. So the first thing the user should do, and for non-users out there, this is the customer account. So showing all the account entries for the period selected. So very important first, before you go to these cross-tab totals, you'll want to actually go to and select your period appropriately. So this will allow you. So right now it's since the first of the last year. But if I just want to do the last 2 months, or if I wanted to put a custom date range in there, make sure your date range is appropriate and you've clicked refresh, because those cross-tab totals are going to be based on whatever date range you have selected here. And then at the bottom of the screen, you actually have there the cross-tab totals button, which from our users already know that this looks a little different because there used to be 2 buttons here that said, I think it was cross-tabs by category and cross-tabs by task. We've still kept those. Those are still the same reports there. However, there's more now. So when you click on that button, there's actually more reports. And we're specifically going to talk about the totals by patients first, because that was like the most common example I gave here, right? So customer calls and wants to know how much money they've spent on this particular horse since the first of the year. So coming here into the account and doing a totals by patient crosstab, will then show all of the patients that are in this list, right? So since
Apparently, it's going to open a new tab on the third level.
yes, yep.
Okay.
And
So
so
we
it's
know here that I'm in.
customer
Let
account.
me go. I love giving some notion about navigation. So on the first level, I know that I'm dealing with this customer. On the second level, there's the main tab, and we are within. I know because it's bold and highlighted, it's
Yep.
underlined. So, and on the third level, there's the main, which is the account that we were in. And as soon as I picked that report, it opened it in the third level tab. So sure enough, apparently it shows all the horses here, right?
It does. Yep. So all of those are all the horses that had invoices between that period. So since the first of the year. So if you click on any one of those horses, maybe let's click on, I'm trying to think of one that I kind of use more frequently. You can click on that captured by fame there towards the bottom.
Help me here. Capture.
Yep. Cap one above where you're at. Yep. Could try that one. Ah, there you go. Look at that. Lots of charges. So what this does is it takes, right, so since the first of the year, it analyzes all those invoices for this horse, lists all the charges for you, and then gives you a total. So you'll notice there's more columns than that, right? There's other things like the invoice number, the date of the procedure, the quantity, the unit price, the total price.
I'll try
Even
to zoom in here so
yeah,
we can take a look at the columns and
yeah.
in more
So task
details.
name, of course, and then as you go through the date, of course, that it was entered in, the task category, the invoice number, the quantity, unit price, total price, percent ownership, really important here,
Right,
right?
this is
Because if
cool.
it's syndicated,
This is
right,
cool.
then they don't. This person didn't pay $150. They paid 25% of 150, which was $37.50. So again, and then obviously if there was any tax on that item, and then of course the job purpose there
And
at
I
below.
love the last column here because, you know, the job can be a donor or recipient here, or that's cool.
Yeah.
This generates pretty nice cross tabs as well if they want to export this to Excel. Which, by the way, if you want to export this to Excel, you just use this button here on this corner, and sure enough, it will grab this entire grid view
Yes.
and put into an
Yep.
Excel.
So at the
So
bottom, you can see very clearly the total there for this customer for this horse. It looks like is about $631, I think. On my screen, it's a little small. I have a smaller computer screen, but yeah. Hey, look at that. I was able to read that. $631.80. So that's the total that this person has spent on this horse between those two dates. Again, this feature here, just for everyone watching here, this is not released yet. It will be released here later this week. So if you're currently on Wise Option right now and you're trying to find this, not just yet. Very close though.
yeah.
So we have a special version here. So
Well, one thing that I noticed here, and that I was confused about the list of horses, Rachel. And is this alphabetically sorted? How is this sorted?
can you come back over here? I can't quite see.
Yeah, I'm having probably a hard time. Let me go back here and let's see. I think we need to ask the guys to review this or make. I think probably sorting by their sequence they were entered into the system. So
Mm-hmm.
their wise option ID instead of
Yeah.
their names. That's a minor thing, but we can adjust that.
Yeah. So, and again, you did mention about exporting it to Excel, which is a very, very valid point there. But I would go one step farther and say that instead of exporting it to Excel for your customer, you should just ask them to go to their eBill or send them their eBill because they can access this from their e-billing link.
Ooh. So if they go to their statement, and I
Uh-huh.
prepared myself and I
Look at that.
just got the
Yep.
72 range statement online. Of course, this is the electronic billing.
Yep.
This is saying, I'm going to say all, but just like that one, I'm going to say since of first of the year. So I
Yep.
change the date and I refresh.
Yep.
So now I have all the transactions over here. This is what the customer would see, right?
Yep. And so then if you scroll to the very bottom, just like you did on the user side, right? The very bottom there, you have your cross tab totals button. And again, they'll notice there's the totals by patient. And they can click on that and see the exact same information. So totals by patient, and then again, all the
Oh,
patient.
and what I liked is that it kept the tab for the statement and opened
Yes, a new tab.
a new tab.
Yes. Yeah, I like that quite a bit too. So they can do the same thing here. They can also export this report as well. But this is at least very nice so that they can see, if you open up any one of these horses here at the very least, this is something that they can see for themselves and check at any time. So they don't have to call you. They may start off with a phone call, but this would be something that, of course, then that they'll be able to use then afterwards.
Well, nice enough. The one here, it's sorted by patient name. We
Yes, it
need
is.
to
I
fix
noticed
only
that.
the one back there.
Yes.
Okay.
So very nice here on this end. And you will notice, of course, with those cross tabs, right? There's more cross tabs than just totals by patient. There's still that totals by task and totals by category, which were 2 reports that were already available. We've just added now 2 more for the customer. One is totals by taxable items and totals by patient as well. So we added this totals by taxable items too to help again with
So
the tax reports that.
let's go over this again. The first one is going to be pretty much a total by each one of the different charge codes,
Yes.
the task files.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is going to, regardless the horses, all procedures, but total of each one of the procedures, which I think is good because a customer could ask, how much did I put on boarding? How much did I put on this particular drug or that particular procedure? Whereas this one here in categories, how would you describe this one?
So categories, users, when they set up their task files, they can categorize each task file. So for example, Banamine might be listed under the task file pain management, or it may be under vet supplies. And so it's a broader category that can accommodate multiple items, right? So when you say totals by categories, that allows the customer and you to see how much that customer spent on a category basis. So board is a good example too, right? You may have 5 or 6 different board rates, but they're all under the category board. So instead of seeing, how much I spent in, dry mare pasture versus wet mare stall, they can just see a total of how much did I spend in board these last couple months. Oh, it was about, $4,000 or what it was, accounting for all those rates.
Okay. Next one.
The taxable items. So totals by taxable items. Would you mind going ahead and clicking on that report? Because I think that one's a good one to visually see as well. So it'll pull up only the list of items that had tax applied. So you'll notice that obviously this person got charged for a lot more than just what's showing there, but these were only the items that actually had tax applied to them. So instead of having to look at each and every single invoice the customer and see which invoice had tax, which one didn't, they could just come here and see for the period, again, which items that they were taxed on, how much the tax was for each item.
That's cool.
Yeah. Really nice.
Although, back to the application itself, I think this particular one is going to be more helpful for the practice itself, trying to calculate how much tax per customer.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Now there is something to note too, that while we're here, users that will notice the comparison we just did between what the customer sees here on their e-bill and what the client or what the user sees inside of the application looks a little different. There's actually 2 cross-tab summaries that are available inside the application that are not available.
So let me show that. What you're saying is that when the customer on e-billing access cross tab, they're going to have 4 options here.
Yes. Yep.
Whereas if the user goes to the account and click on the cross tabs, they're going to have actually 6 items there.
Yes. Yep. And the last 2.
Let's see the difference here.
Yep. So the only difference is within the application, users have an additional 2 cross-tab totals, which is totals by prescribed by and totals by performed by. So we did not put this as available for customers to see, but available only for users to see, which allows internal kind of referencing. Maybe you have a particularly large client and you have multiple vets practicing in your practice, and you would like to know who has done the most amount of work for this client in this period, or how much has each vet done for this particular client in this period. And this will actually then separate that by each prescribing professional. And you'll be able to see, if you select, for example, Dr. Sydney, you'll see the total then for Dr. Sydney for this client for this period as a prescribing veterinarian. So same columns available there, date, patient, etc., all the way over then to the total amount, and then of course the total amount accounting for ownership. So again, just to reiterate, the cross-tab totals by prescribed by and performed by only available right now for the user to see, not the customer. After speaking with some users, this was something that a lot of users had asked for, but not necessarily something that they wanted their customers to see.
I gotcha. Again, I think this is a tremendous asset for you guys, providing an amazing service to your customers, where you are massaging the data, digesting totals, and creating amazing reports on the go, depending on the flexibility. Because remember, this is not static. A customer can say last month, up to this year, last quarter, the entire last year. So they have the ability to do this and simply get the totals. You don't have to compile that yourself anymore.
Yes. Yeah. That's the biggest thing, because as we all know, right? I mean, at the end of the day, are any of these reports something that's necessarily the responsibility of the user? No, not really. But it is something that, right, and naturally we want to make sure that we can cater to our and we know our users want to cater as much as possible to their clients. And this is just one of those ways, as we always like to say, if it's something like a dumb calculation, let's just make the computer do it. Let's not have users have to do any silly calculations that are easy, that we could just, and that are time consuming. So just another example of that.
Well, and it goes straight to the point on our focus, which is time savings, return on investment for our clients. We are looking for alternatives, things that will make you faster, expedite your process, and do the computer doing exactly what Rachel said. The silly work, put the computer to do it. And every time you guys have an idea about that, let us know.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Like I said, especially we understand there are some situations that there's too many ifs, ands, or buts, and decisions that are made kind of in that situation to make a computer do that. But any of these things that there are these conditions that, hey, always this is the case. And especially things that, you've heard from feedback from multiple of your clients. If you're hearing a certain feedback from not just one client, but consistently, I mean, that's something that we want to hear, because I mean, if it's going to be a time saving for them, it's definitely going to be a time saving for you.
Yes. And if I may just throw a teaser here a little bit. The same handing, and it's coming in the fall. We are planning to do this on a dashboard for Wise Option. So we're at this moment and now asking our users to send compiled reports they would love to analyze the system and data. So we can provide charts, and in a quick place, they just click, they can compile a report. And just time to time, I would like to see how much we did last week, the last 4 weeks, and compare different categories, but for the practice as a whole, or by doctor, or by categories, or taxable items. So the dashboards will be a more visual thing. I don't know about the users out there, but I love to see evolution and how the charts go up and down. I think this is an amazing thing that is coming. And of course, this is the incipient moment where we saw opportunity to create more data analysis for our clients for the decision-making process.
Yes, very well said. Well, definitely something that I thought was going to be a quick 10-minute one. We somehow doubled that timing. So shame on me on this Tuesday of a day.
Well, just taking account the amount of time we're going to save our clients, I would say well deserved. This feature,
I know.
deserved.
That's true. That's true. That is true. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. As always, we really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any questions, let us know. Again, this feature is not widely released yet, but will be later this week starting to. So keep an eye out for it. And as always, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll see you next week.
See you next time.